In this video, not only am I going to share with you the top 10 Pickable business ideas, but I'm also going to give you the pros, the cons, so that you can make a smart decision on what you should do moving forward, because you've caught that Pickable bug and now you're thinking to yourself, do you know what? I've got a bit of entrepreneurial in me. What could be the best choice? And of course, it's dependent on finances, where you're at, and also your type of personality, right? Do you want to be behind the scenes? Do you want to be out there? So there's lots of different options. And then what I'll do, depending on your comments in the chat, I can dive into these a little bit deeper. So this is basically going to be an overview video, but really answering that question, Simon, what are some of the top ideas and what should I put onto my, top 3, I would suggest that you start to deliberate, and then you can decide, okay, what's going to be your first move, and then you move through the milestones of growing a business. Just a bit of a background on me. I have grown 6- and 7-figure businesses in the pickleball space. I got very sick with a medical condition called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which happened in 21, and then in 2023, September, I found Pickleball. It changed my life, and I wanted to start to use my business skills to help other people make smart choices and get results in the pickleball space. So here I am. All right, let's look at number 1. Let's just reduce the size here a little bit. All right, so let's dive into number 1. I think this is a great option, all right, Pickable Coaching, for those of you who love working with people, all right, you love seeing people change their lives, and it's natural for you to go into that coaching position. Now, of course, you can certify. You don't need a certification to become and get paid as a pickleball coach. You need it for, need insurance. But it's a low startup cost. Most likely you will be able to start getting clients. And in fact, I got a 5-day challenge on the channel for this, just through your existing network. And then if you do a good job, you can start to build up referrals. And in some of my clients' cases, if you build the right ascension model and the right path, you can start to bring in various pieces of income, and you can actually build a sustainable business. But like any entrepreneur, all right, that income is going to fluctuate based on certain times of the year, your situation, and especially if you are deciding to be the coach and not have other coaches coming in working with you. That scalability of the business is going to be very important, which is grouping people together. As I mentioned before, the ascension model, the pricing, all of that kind of stuff. If you are like, Simon, that sounds like me, definitely subscribe to the channel, because a big focus on this channel is around helping pickleball coaches. In the description, you can also find my marketing checklist, access to the Super Club community. So pickleball coaching is a really good option for a lot of people. Some of the misconceptions are, well, I need to be a pro in order to get started and stuff like that. You don't. I would say if you're a 3.5, you can start working with beginners just as a baseline. It doesn't have to be exactly that. But if you're thinking to yourself, when could I start being a pickleball coach? If you're at 3.5, work with beginners. And then it's also a great incentive for you to get better, because the more better you get in pickleball, the more people that you're going to be able to work with, because you've improved your skill set. All right, so Pickable Coaching, number 1. All right, low startup costs, high benefits, especially if you're willing to learn the social media side, the business structure, all of those things. Number 2, and that's, some of these kind of blend together, all right, but they can be separate. So I want to keep them separate, but just know that if you do Pickable Coaching, then of course you can do clinics. You're going to be doing clinics, but clinics is another one, okay? So with clinics, you're bringing groups of people together. Now, one of the recommendations here is, for example, entrepreneurs. Like that's what Picklepreneurs is, as well as me helping pickleball coaches and clubs grow with marketing strategies and systems and processes. What I actually did was set up a local event where I, do networking with entrepreneurs, okay? So that is another option where you solely focus on a target demographic and you just offer clinics. Now, you can also be the entrepreneur. You don't need to be the one that's actually doing the clinics. You can, for example, go and find another coach, and actually they do the work and you become the person that's operating the business. This is dependent on your skill set, right? Some people are better behind the scenes when it comes to operations, and some people are great with marketing, and some people suck at that, right? So when you're a solo entrepreneur, you're going to need to develop a lot of different skills, but I'm fully aware that some of you are watching this going, do you know what? I've got this skill set, and this would work perfectly with me. And so we've got, for example, Pickable Clinics. Now, YouTube channel. My channel is relatively small, right? I focus on Pickable business side. I'll give you some observations here and my thoughts on a YouTube channel. If, a YouTube channel is going to be great if you're willing not to just be doing the content, which is going to be the Pickable content. You have to also learn how to do better thumbnails, be learning about watch time, and there's so many other parts of doing a YouTube channel. It's not just about you putting the content out and then hoping that people see it. However, once you build that audience, then what you can do is you can take a percentage of sales for, being an affiliate, which is, for example, you promote a paddle and that kind of stuff. Here's a better way that I think, which is start to then build digital products. And this is a piece which I think a lot of people miss, which is YouTube content, right? Yes, it needs to be valuable and solve problems, but when it comes to putting together, for example, courses, that is more systems and processes. So if you're going to do a YouTube channel, pick a niche that you're going to work with, and then think about not necessarily the monetization of the ad money that you will get through the views, but think about the products on the back end that you can actually create and sell yourself. And again, some of this will tie together when as I go through these, you'll be like, oh, I can do the YouTube channel and this. And that's where merging some of these together can be extremely powerful. Tournament organizer. There's actually someone in the Super Club. So the Super Club, by the way, is my community. It's free. Go into the description. Someone came into the group who figured out a way to make tournaments run better. All right. So the community is full of basically Pickable entrepreneurs. So if you're watching this and you're a Pickable entrepreneur, then the Super Club is great for you to make connections. Anyway, to my point, Pickable tournaments, you can go in as an organizer, and you don't need to be a coach because you're not going to be coaching. But again, this is for someone, I've got friends, for example, that are just really great connectors. They've got connections with local businesses. They've got connections with, other, establishments. And it makes sense. So I'm a natural organizer, right? Maybe I do organization in another business. Do you know what? I could organize tournaments in my local area. And that's when you go and partner with people. So again, greater connection. And, even though it says moderate startup here, and by the way, I'll tell you how you can access this sheet at the end. While the startup costs are moderate for this, the rewards can be really high because right now, especially 2024, people want tournaments, right? They want to play. They don't just want to do rec games. They want to start get involved in tournaments and then moving into leagues. And that is the ascension path, right? Play, you go from being a player, starting to play, you go on your paddle journey, and then you're playing. And after you played for some time, then comes up the point of, do you know what? I could enter, and this happened for me when I entered the PPA. It's like, oh, I want to move into that next stage by becoming a bit more competitive and entering a tournament. Well, there's the big tournaments around the country, but of course, throughout every city, you've got these mini tournaments popping up. And the more niche down that these are to certain demographics, that's where you can really find that sweet spot, so to speak, for you. And then once you've built that, you can start to bring in sponsors and other things. All right. So it can be scalable. All right. Let's move on to number 5, which is Pickable gear and, clothing, stuff like that. I've got some very strong views on this. While it says that the cost to start is moderate, you can actually do a pretty small to, $100, startup if you do print on demand. So you don't need to have stock. If I was going to create a Pickable line of clothing, I would do and start off with a print on demand and maybe expand it to having stock and stuff afterwards. Because what happens is that you can basically put a design onto a shirt and then you do not have any fulfillment. You use something like Shopify compared with Printful, those two things together, and then you can start putting stuff out there. However, here's what I'm going to share. There are so many people doing this, and they're just doing it as a cash grab. There's no real passion in it. They're slapping something together, hoping people will buy, and people see through that, especially pickleballers. They are not buying them. And you might see a lot of them, okay? But in my opinion, what you need to do is you need to be willing, if you're going to do this, like ask yourself the question, would you wear it yourself? All right? Because what people are doing is just putting these designs, slapping it on 1,000 different products, and then hoping people buy it, versus, which is the smarter way to do it, if you're going to go down this route, pick a niche. For example, I talk about this a lot, which is, if you go into Meta and you pair yoga with pickleball, the market is actually really big, but it's super niche down. So if I was going to do clothing and print on demand, I would say, using yoga as an example, because, I do yoga. I just don't do it very often right now. But I would tailor for an example, as a T-shirt, do a T-shirt, make it funny, make it for yoga people that also play Pickable, so that when they see that, they go, oh my God, that's me. Not just, oh, I like the T-shirt design, but, oh, I identify as someone that plays Pickable and does yoga. Make it funny and make it something that you would wear. Then I would not recommend starting an apparel line or clothing line unless you are willing to be in front of camera and build a personal brand, which is you, like, wearing the stuff, right? Versus just like slapping it on something and not even wanting it. But you need to be willing to wear it and then have video and content of you doing things, which isn't necessarily selling the T-shirt, but selling the lifestyle that you have as a pickleball player. If you're going to go down that route, I think it's much better than these people just like doing some silly design, slapping it on, and you just see it. And honestly, I just cringe with those. So I think there's a way to do it well. And there's also a way that a lot of people are doing it right now, and they're just not seeing traction, right? They have a lot of energy in the creative part because they think that, oh, it's good, but they cannot sustain it when it comes to building it because of the reality that sets in that people don't want to buy this. And part of the reason is, going back to the personal brand, which is they're not willing to put themselves out there. They're hiding behind this product, and you see it all over the place on Instagram, these new pages that pop up, 5 different product shots, and then you don't see anything else, all right? So that's why. All right, next one, we got court rentals. I'm not going to dive too much into this, but of course, that's an option, especially if you partner with someone. Paddle design. So the same issue here that I'm seeing is with the clothing. People launching a paddle, and people are going to have different opinion on this, but beginner investment on a paddle to, say, $100 paddle and then a $200 paddle, you have to be realistic about where you come into the market with a paddle. For example, if you're selling a paddle for $100, the majority of beginners who have not yet decided that they're not going all in on in Pickable. So, for example, my first paddle was a head paddle. It was about $50. And the reason why I spent that, I could have spent more. I had the budget for more. But I did not know that I was going to really get the bug and then go on my paddle journey to then investing $200 in the paddle. So I had $70, $130, or $150, and then a $200 paddle. So that's been my journey personally. So if you're going to come out with a paddle, again, you've got to put your face behind it And it's got to have a real story and personality, because there are so many brands out there that are marketing really, really well. The Selkirks and the Jewelers and the big brands. And there are so many of these paddles that have come out of people just pushing these paddles. But again, I just see these Instagram feeds with these quotes and these pictures of these paddles. And when I have the discussion behind the scenes with the owner, there's a great story there, right? They're a great person when I'm on the Zoom call, but they're not pushing that out there on social media because they want to hide. Like, I don't know what it is about this thing, but to me, like, if I'm going to spend money on a paddle, which I might do, I've got to connect. I can't connect with the paddle, and it's not good enough to now say it's made of carbon fiber or this Kevlar or whatever. Like, people get what people are doing. There has to be the truth, the authenticity, and so you got to show your face. You got to show the behind the scenes. You got to do more than just have a product and put it out there, especially now with so many people coming in. And this is why now we're seeing a clampdown, or a bar raised in terms of like more official paddles. And I think people are bringing in like these tiers now, in that you have to spend a certain amount of money in order to even get your paddles out there. So I would just be careful right now if you're looking to invest, because here's the other thing too. By the time you produce the paddle, it gets shipped to you from wherever you're getting it from. If you look at that timeline, and you see how much things have evolved, a lot of the time people are trying to catch up because they suddenly realize, well, I ordered these paddles X amount of months ago, and by the time I got it, there's a whole new range out that I did not even see. So you just got to be hyper careful. And again, going back to what I was saying earlier, if you're not willing to build a personal brand which is like your face, like what you are doing, what your loves are, like you playing pickleball, like you, if you're not willing to do that, I personally would not consider, creating a paddle. What I have seen done, which I think is better, which is creating more of a USP with the paddle. So, for example, there's access also to other things. There's a bundle of products, but it's building a community and then offering the paddle to the community. I'll just give you another insight on paddles too, which is I've sold paddles to people, but I don't have an affiliation with, a company. And I don't sell paddles myself, but I've sold paddles in Here's How, which is I run events. And so I've done coaching. And so when people come to me and I run the ads and I ask them, have you played before? The answer is no. And then I say, would you like me to recommend a paddle? And so then they purchase that paddle because when they arrive, it's the one that I recommended. And so that's what I want you to think about, which is there's basically a way, if you are, for example, going to do paddles, if you merge it with the coaching, which is why I think coaching is such a good idea. If you actually blend it, and merge some of these things together, yes, you can move product, but you're also going to need to, for example, to be a coach, because when students go to a coach for the first time and they're a beginner, there's a massive opportunity to introduce that paddle. But going to what I was saying earlier, you have to be cautious and be aware of actually the price point of what people are willing to spend on a introductory paddle. And the people that have invested with me for beginner sessions and beginner lessons, they want to spend $30, $50, maybe $70, but it's not up in the $100 plus range because they don't know yet that they are all in on pickleball. As soon as they then start playing, then they're going to ascend and they're going to go on that paddle journey. All right, pickleball content creation. Now, I also know some people in the pickleball space that have done this well. They're building pickleball groups. I did some consulting on them repositioning because it just didn't make sense. And now they've started to grow because they niched down to a certain demographic. And my advice is, if you're going to do that, which is fine, whether that's a blog, whether you're building community, that's fine. But then also look at how you are going to monetize that. Because otherwise what starts to happen is you start to think, well, I'm going to get all of these, viewers to my blog and stuff like that. But you want to build a database. You want to start to generate emails. You need to know that side of it, right? Lead generation is very, very important. And then you need to know, okay, how am I going to monetize that? If you pick the right niche, for example, weight loss in pickleball, then you can do a weight loss challenge. You can sell that challenge, right? So oftentimes when you're thinking about these front end ideas, whether it's coaching, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's a paddle, whatever it is, you got to think not just the immediate product, you got to also think, what am I selling on the back end? League organizer. This also ties into number one. So I'm going to hammer down here on why being a pickleball coach or building a pickleball coaching company is a really good idea, because now you've seen, oh, if I do pickleball coaching, I can also do clinics. I can also do a YouTube channel. I can also do tournaments. I can also sell gear. Like, you can sell a lot and do a lot when you're a pickleball coach. And one of my clients, in fact, I helped her to build an ascension model, and she sold out her first tournament and then started to introduce a league, and she made $3,500 in one day. There's a video on this channel about that story. So organizing a league is great. Also, I think once people have done a tournament, is a great time to do a league, because they've moved through in that ascension. All right, but you, again, going back to the same, it's really similar to the tournament organizer, right? If you think that you would be a great tournament organizer, then pair this then with a league, and then you've got multiple streams of income, which really actually what this video is about. And then you've got pickleball camps and retreats. I also want to give you some insights to this too. So right now, lots of people are going to pickleball retreats. They're doing pickleball travel, do a cruise. Recently saw people on a cruise in Croatia. So it's happening. People are spending the money, right? They're willing to do that. What we haven't started to see yet, I haven't, this is something that I'm coaching my clients on, but I want you to start to think about, is using other skills and creating unique events. So for example, pickleball and personal development, pickleball and relationship coaching, pickleball and, yoga as an example, right? Like bringing things in together where, for example, you rent out an Airbnb, you bring people together. This is a high-priced item. Now, it says the costs here to start, moderate to high. If you really want to get smart, you can actually gain interest, build an email list, kind of pre-sell, and then book the place. So you don't necessarily need to have upfront costs, and you may have relationships with people. But if you start exploring Airbnb, if you start exploring different locations that rent out, a house with certain rooms, for example, here in San Diego, about an hour away, there's a pickleball location with 3 courts. It can house 24 people, and there's a great opportunity there for very unique events, which then can include tournaments and leagues and other stuff. So this is good if, again, you like being around people, or you're a presenter, right? You have spent time maybe speaking, and you want to create experiences. I think there's a lot of great opportunity in the pickleball space to create great experiences. Now, if you're watching this and you're like, Simon, like, this has lit me up. It's got me excited, and I want to talk to you about bringing this to life. Go into the description, and you can schedule a call with me. Also, come into the community. There's a marketing checklist if you want to do the coaching, stuff like that. But if you want this, which has got actually some more columns here, pros, cons, target audience, stuff like this, comment sheet. Just comment sheet in the comments, and I will give you this link to view this exact sheet. And then also in the comments, guys, post which of these you want me to go into a little bit deeper. I gave you my viewpoints and stuff today on these, but I'm curious to know, do you want me to dive into YouTube channel more? Do you want me to dive into the paddle stuff? Because you're like, Si, I want you to talk more about that. Let me know, and I will do my best to help you, because I believe that if you've got the right intentions, you're using the right skill set, you can really make a great business in pickleball, and I'm here to support you with accountability, with coaching, with consulting, and mentoring. And I will see you in another video. Take it easy. Oh, and hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Take care.